assistance extended by the provincial cabinet of this House for the effective and efficient implementation of austerity measures and public policies that facilitated the general public to brave such testing times of political, social and economic uncertainty. So, the next year's budget, our motto for the budget, the motto of the government of Sindh is revitalizing prosperity. We want to follow a path to economic recovery and resilience against climate change. The government is determined to create a path towards economic recovery while proactively addressing the urgent need to tackle climate change. So the key pillars for the budget 2023-24, and I'll go into more detail later, are economic stimulus recovery, climate change adaptation and mitigation, green and sustainable initiatives, social welfare and human development, infrastructure development, good governance and transparency. So before I talk about the budget, I'll talk about a little about last year and the multiple crises that we faced in view of the rain and flood devastation last year. Despite having deep sentiments for COVID, rain and flood affected people who exhibited resilience, determination and strength in the face of life-threatening challenges, I am pleased to inform this August House that with the consistent implementation of flood response strategy, Sindh government has successfully combated the floods like we bravely fought the menace of COVID-19. मुझे इधर एक शेर पढ़ लेता हूँ. ये जब ये कोविड का और उसके बाद ये फ्लड्स का सारा हो रहा था उसकी मुनासिबत से है. जिसको तूफान से उलझने की हो आदत मोहसिन, ऐसी कश्ती को समंदर भी दुआ देते हैं और हमारी कश्ती पार लगी. So Sindh carried the maximum burden in the country for both COVID and flood and faced disproportionate devastation in 2022 with 1,000 people dying and around 8,000 injured. Significantly affected the houses, transport, agriculture, irrigation and communication infrastructure. The post-flood assessment conducted by the district administration, the World Bank, the UNDP, the European Union and others showed that more than 4.4 million acres of agricultural land were destroyed and irrigation and flood protection systems were damaged. About 437,000 livestock worth $117 million were lost and nearly 60% of the road network was undermined. Moreover, a total of 2.36 million houses were destroyed, affecting 12.36 million people, including 650,272 partially damaged houses and 1.44 million fully damaged houses. In addition, 2,548 government buildings lost their shape, representing nearly 83% of the total nationwide figure. Sindh alone suffered a huge loss of $5.5 billion in the housing sector alone. However, the Sindh government's aggressive response to the natural calamity reduced the impact of the destruction. The Sindh government immediately executed the emergency relief activities to the Provincial Disaster Management Authority in association with District Administration, Pakistan Army, Pakistan Navy, Pakistan Air Force and paramilitary forces for prompt evacuation of stagnant water. The aid and assistance received from local and foreign sources were distributed among the affected people. It includes supply of clean drinking water, 1 million tents were distributed, 630,000 plastic tarpaulins, 3.95 million mosquito nets, 2.55 million ration bags, 1.84 million blankets, sanitation kits, and a lot more essential items for daily living. During the flood and rain emergencies, 26 mobile hospitals were deployed in 16 districts to provide health facilities to the flood and rain affected people. More than 190,000 people were treated with free medicines and more than 20,000 lab and other tests were conducted by the mobile hospitals only in 46 days of the emergency. To ensure effective operation and maintenance of these mobile hospitals, we have allocated rupees 556 million for the financial year 2023-24 UNHCR and UNFP also assisted in the supply of food items to the affected areas. In addition, we are grateful to the federal government who distributed through the Benazir Income Support Program. And Mr. Speaker, and all the colleagues here would remember that after the shahadat of Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, President Asif Ali Zardari initiated the Benazir Income Support Program. This has been a flagship program for all governments since then. And this flagship program which President Zardari started, this was the vehicle which enabled the federal government to provide assistance to the flood affectees in a swift and efficient manner. So I'm grateful to the federal government, I'm grateful to the Benazir Income Support Program for providing the necessary immediate cash relief to the flood victims in the province of Sindh as they did in the rest of Pakistan. So Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, even after Shahadat, is in everybody's hearts in the entire Pakistan, and it was due to Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto that this money was available to the people. And as I said, President Asif Ali Zardari, who had initiated this program, he should be given all the credit for giving us such a vehicle which we can immediately use and provide flood assistance to people. Sir, the government of Sindh, in addition to the immediate relief, we have negotiated, and I'll talk in more detail later on, about $1.7 billion from the World Bank for 5 projects, and we secured another $200 million from the Asian Development Bank. I'll talk in more detail about this later. Sir, before I move to the budget numbers and the budget of 2023-24, I want to apprise the House about the global and national economic nosedive that we've faced in the last few years. Sir, it is imperative for me to apprise the August House about the existential crisis the government is currently going through due to the dismal performance of the previous federal government, both in terms of geopolitics and geoeconomics. The subversive national economic policies, governance failure, excessive external borrowing, foreign policy fiasco, and monetary and fiscal policy debacle coupled with global economy meltdown due to enormous challenges like inflation, climate change, the war in Europe, and supply chain disruptions due to COVID and geopolitics caused severe economic problems, inflated commodity and utility prices, surging oil prices, and unfortunately rising consumer price index. ये पिछले जो 3 साल गुजरे हैं, सर एक और चीज मैं इधर बताना भूल गया. The key to progress is stability. By the grace of Almighty Allah, because of the leadership of the Pakistan People's Party, Sindh has remained stable for the last 5 years. आजकल लोग इस्तेकाम की बात कर रहे हैं, हम तो इस्तेकाम खुद हैं जी, हमने आपको दिखाया है. आपको मैं स्टेबिलिटी की क्यों बात कर रहा हूं? ये मेरा 5वां बजट है इस साल. एक ही फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, फेडरेशन में इन 5 सालों में 6 फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स गए. तो इस्तेकाम लाएगी, पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी लाएगी, सिंध में ला चुकी है, इंशाल्लाह ताला फेडरेशन में लाएगी. और इन पिछले खास तौर पे पहले 3.5 सालों के दौरान इन्होंने समझा कि जो अपनी सख्ते करे योरसेल्फ स्टिल अ विक्टिम ऑफ दोज, और जो तंग कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी को, तो शायद पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी जैसे ये रेत की दीवार की तरह कुछ पार्टी एक बिखर गई अभी, ये कुछ होगा. लेकिन मुझे यहां अगेन मैं आज हिम्मत इसलिए कर रहा हूं, उधर सारे दोस्त बैठे हैं, कि शेरो शायरी मेरा इट्स नॉट माई फोर्टे, आप सबको पता है. लेकिन अब ना रऊफ सिद्दीकी है, ना दूसरे फेडरल मिनिस्टर बन गया, अब इनमें दम नहीं है. फैसल चौधरी है. तो मैंने आज इस्तेदा की है कि कुछ शेर और शायरी मैं भी कर लूं. नहीं तो हमेशा मैं गलतियां कर जाता हूं, आज भी शायद करूंगा, लेकिन हर वक्त सीखने का कभी काम खत्म नहीं होता. तो मैं फहीम जोगापुरी का एक शेर पढ़ना चाहूंगा, जो कि इस मुनासिबत से कि जिन्होंने कोशिश की थी. वाकिफ कहां जमाना हमारी उड़ान से वो और थे जो हार गए आसमान से। हम और ज्यादा ऊंचा उड़े हैं इन 3.5 सालों में। उसके बाद और इसकी प्रूफ मिली है अभी जब इलेक्शंस हुए हैं लोकल गवर्नमेंट की, पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी ने सारे सिंध के सब डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स को स्वीप किया है। तो जितना दबाओगे शहीद जुल्फिकार अली भुट्टो की पार्टी, शहीद मोहतरमा बेनजीर भुट्टो की पार्टी और ऊंचा उड़ेगी इंशाल्लाह। Sir, it is unfortunate that the people in Sindh have to endure fallout of ever higher inflation at about 40%, with negligible anticipated growth rate for next financial year, while fuel and energy prices have also risen up to 50%. Mr. Speaker, a weak economy is always prone to setbacks in negotiation with IMF and development partners for its inability to fulfill compelling demands for signing hardened terms only for the sake of strengthening foreign exchange reserves, as Pakistan has been facing since natural disasters entrapped the nation. However, despite being entangled by multiple crises, Sindh proved to be a responsible federating unit and consented to fiscal management to maintain a cash surplus of rupees 184 billion for the current financial year 2022-23, according to the federal government's commitment with the IMF to secure the required bailout package. Notwithstanding all this, the Pakistan People's Party's dauntless and unwavering resolve to face crisis converted threats into opportunities. We revised the entire development portfolio and set priorities aligned with the emerging post-flood demands. We recognized the need for adaptability and strategic decision-making. We carefully evaluated our priorities, ensuring that every rupee invested delivered maximum value. Our commitment to the people of Sindh remains unwavering, and we will spare no effort in overcoming the current economic challenges as we take inspiration from this quote of the father of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and I quote, "With faith, discipline and selfless devotion to duty, there is nothing worthwhile that you cannot achieve," and inshallah we will achieve. May Almighty Allah bestow us with the courage and capacity to serve the people of Sindh on the vision and principles set forth by our founding father, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Qaid-e-Awam Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Qaid-e-Jamhuriyat Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto. They strove relentlessly to achieve these goals. Now, under the dynamic leadership of PPP Chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and President Asif Ali Zardari, the Pakistan People's Parties and its government continue to work to make Sindh a perfect model of a true welfare state. I'll also like to thank, though the Muttahida Qawmi movement is not in coalition with us here in the provincial government, but the Muttahida Qawmi movement is in coalition with us at the federal level. So I'd like to thank the Muttahida Qawmi movement, its leader Khalid Maqbool Siddiqui, Prime Minister Mian Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif, and other political parties who have worked with us during these difficult times. Mr. Speaker, now I would like to present before the House the revised estimates of 2022-23. Revised estimates for provincial expenditures have been proposed to be 1.76 trillion for the year 2024 as against the budget estimates of 1.713 trillion in financial year 2022-23. It includes current revenue, capital and development expenditure. Revised estimates for 2023 for current revenue expenditure have been pitched at rupees 1.297 trillion, representing 8% increase against budget estimates of 1.199 trillion. The increase is mainly due to additional expenditure incurred on raid and flood relief and rehabilitation activities. Revised estimates for the year 2022-23 for current capital expenditure have been proposed at rupees 62.13 billion, showing 8% increase over budget estimates of rupees 54.481 billion for the year 2022-23. The increase is due to worsening rupee-dollar parity from Pak rupee 186 to almost Pak rupees 300, raising the expenditure by rupees 7.6 billion towards repayment of loans. The estimates for investment activities have been revised to rupees 21.5 billion as compared to budget estimates of rupees 23.6 billion. So the revised development expenditure for 2022-23 stands at rupees 406.32 billion. This is the highest ever development expenditure that inshallah we are going to achieve this year. Prior to this, it was 2017-18 that we achieved the highest. Then I told you, कोई आ गया और 3-3.5 साल हमारे ऐसे गए, 1 साल हमें रिकवर करने में लगा. इस साल we are back on our feet despite floods. Despite so many other challenges, we've had the highest ever development expenditure. And I'll talk about next year also. Sir, the overall receipts, the federal transfers have increased from the federal transfers that we hope to get from the federal government by the end of the year are 1.08 trillion rupees against a budget of 1.055 trillion. Revised estimates for divisible pool component stands at 982.54 billion against budget estimate of 958.62, and for straight transfers at rupees 71.15 billion against budget of 70.82 billion. As I said, we expect to receive this budgeted amount by the end of the current financial year. As far as own resource revenues are concerned, we are going to pitch the revised estimates at rupees 358.29 billion against a budget estimate of 374.5 billion. Mr. Speaker, I am glad to tell you that yet once again, the Sindh Revenue Board, inshallah, will meet its target of rupees 180 billion by the end of this year, and I'll tell you about our targets for next year. Non-tax revenues have been, the revised estimates for non-tax revenues have been proposed at 23.29 billion. The revised estimates for foreign project assistance have been proposed at rupees 147.82 billion, while federal PSTP has been estimated at rupees 14 billion. The budgetary support grant relating to education sector stands at 9.04 billion in the current financial year. Sir, before I go to the numbers for the next year and give you some details of next year's budget, I want to present to the August House a vision for our vision for financial year 2023-24, a vision for an empowered and inclusive Sindh. Pakistan People's Party is a democratic and progressive party. It believes in ideology of inclusive governance. It envisions a progressive Sindh where institutions, policies and services are accessible, accountable and responsive to all members of the society. True reflection of this philosophy can be observed in budget estimates of 2023-24. Mr. Speaker, in order to get to a budget which is acceptable not only by this House but by the people of this province, a pre-budget assembly session was held under Rule 143 of the Rules of Procedure of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh. Let me remind all of you here that we are the only House, the only Assembly who has rules for a pre-budget session. The other 3 provinces or the National Assembly does not have any such rule. So, sir, this pre-budget session was held during the months of January to March for general discussion on the upcoming budget and getting well-considered suggestions of the honourable members of this House. It helps in setting budget priorities according to ground realities and actual demand and needs of people. The invaluable feedback and suggestions have been duly incorporated while finalizing budget estimates of 2023-24. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Sindh developed a tool for citizens' budget in the fiscal year 2021-22. It provides statistical analysis of findings of a survey conducted to gather feedback from the intelligentsia, serving officers, scholars and academicians, and the general public. It has transformed the conventional budgeting process into participatory decision-making, whereby public opinion on prioritization of public expenditure and improving ways and means for revenue generation have been well considered in finalizing budget estimates of 2023-24. We have conducted awareness sessions this year in reputable institutions like Sakhar IBA Karachi, Applied Economics Research Centre Karachi, and the Commissioner's Office Hyderabad to inform people about the significance of the activity and its effectiveness in developing a solution based on the insights, opinions and suggestions shared by intellectuals. intellectuals, scholars, researchers, stakeholders and citizens. A total of 356 persons, including 240 males and 107 females, participated to provide feedback through questionnaire. The feedback and invaluable suggestions have been transformed into budget estimates for the year 2023-24. The findings of the survey and its analysis are published every year along with the annual budget of the province, and you'll find that in your books. Sir, now I present to the House the budget estimates for the next year. Budget outlay for provincial expenditures for the financial year 2023-24 is rupees 2.237 trillion. This marks a 35% increase over budget estimates of 1.713 trillion in the current financial year 2023-24. I would like to briefly present the components of current revenue, capital and development expenditure. Budget estimates 2023-24 for current revenue expenditure have been pitched at rupees 1,411 billion, being 17.65% higher than budget estimates of 1.199 trillion for the year 2022-23. So the increase is mainly due to massive recruitment of the government, especially in the education sector, and I'll talk more about that, causing the employee-related expenses to take a sharp leap. I just want to mention the few areas where we have put in the most budget as far as the current revenue expenditure is concerned. The highest budget has been allocated to school education of about 267.5 billion, followed by health, almost 228 billion rupees, followed by law and order in the home department, 143 billion rupees, and local government, which is 112 billion rupees. The current capital expenditure has been proposed to be rupees 136.256 billion, with an increase of 150% over budget estimates of 55.481 billion for the year 22-23. This increase may be linked with excessive repayments of interest amount due to hike in foreign exchange rate, as I mentioned earlier, raising the expenditure disproportionately. The budget estimates for investment activities have been proposed at rupees 88 billion, including inter alia rupees 26 billion earmarked for Sindh pension fund and rupees 58 billion reserved for bridge financing of various public-private partnership-led development projects through viability gap fund, depicting an increase of twice more than budget estimates of rupees 23.6 billion for year 2022-23. The budget estimates for the year 2023-24 for provincial development stands at an unprecedented and a record rupees 701 billion against a budget estimate of 459 billion in this current financial year. So inshallah ta'ala, we hope to spend more than 700 billion rupees in development funds in the next financial year. I'll talk more in detail about this. In terms of federal transfers, as you are aware, most of our income depends on transfers from the federal government because they have the major tax collecting authority. We hope that the budget estimate of federal transfers, which have been set at 1.353 trillion for the financial year 2023-24, including 1.255 trillion for divisible pool component and 64 billion for straight transfer and rupees 33.74 for OZT grants. This estimate shows an increase of 27% over the estimate of 1.055 trillion in the current financial year. The provincial receipts, we've done some fiscal reforms we've implemented to mobilize provincial revenues to curtail budget deficit. The augmented collection is expected in the next financial year. Therefore, we have proposed budget estimate of rupees 469.9 billion for tax revenues for the financial year 2023-24. We have set quite ambitious targets for next year for major revenue streams. Next year's collection target for Sindh sales tax on service has been pitched at rupees 235 billion. It is a difficult target, but I am sure that Sindh Revenue Board will be able to achieve this target. Likewise, the revenue collection for levies under excise and taxation are pitched at 143 billion, and under Board of Revenue at rupees 55 billion. We estimate a non-tax revenue of rupees 32 billion for the next financial year. Other receipts that we hope to get for our budget assistance in the next year, 2023-24, include a foreign project assistance of rupees 26.69 billion. This is unprecedented. This is more than double of what we've ever pitched before. And I'll talk about it later when I talk about our World Bank funding projects. The funds have come from, as I said, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the USAID and JICA. Budget estimates for projects offered under federal PSDP stand at rupees 21.9 billion and for budgetary support at rupees 5.92 billion. Here I would like to mention that the federal government about a week ago had only allocated 6.6 billion rupees for federally funded projects to be executed by the government of Sindh. This was the 2nd of June when the annual plan coordination committee met. We strongly objected to the small allocation to the Sindh government for this, and as a result this has been increased almost by 4 times, and now we are promised 21.9 billion rupees for provincially executed projects in the federal PSDP. So from 6 billion we've jumped to almost 22 billion in the last 1 week or so when we objected to this, and I'm grateful to the federal government to have partly accepted our proposals. I'm not happy with this. I'm grateful to my party leadership who emphasized upon the federal government that they have to in that par with other provinces. Unfortunately, that has not been the case in the last 4 years, and in this last year also we have a lot of reservations, but I will not talk about this here today. There will be other avenues, there will be other forums where I will raise my voice. So before going into details of the development expenditures for next year, because I'm sure everybody is interested in that, I'd like to talk about the flood devastation. I've briefly spoken about this, but I'd like to talk about this in a little more detail before we go to the actual development expenditures. I'll talk about the catastrophic floods of 2022 and the Sindh government's response. So these floods were described by none other than the Secretary General of the United Nations as a monsoon on steroids. The climate catastrophe affected over 33 million people in the country. Under the unprecedented rainfall in July and August of 2022, Sindh was the most affected province, with 70% of the land submerged and over 12.4 million people affected. The devastation caused havoc on almost all facets of life in the province. It damaged more than 2 million houses, standing crops on almost 4 million acres, about 20,000 schools were damaged, and there were damages in several other sectors. 24 out of the 30 districts of Sindh were declared calamity hit. And when this flood came, and I'll talk very, very candidly, after visiting the flood areas, where I for one saw water everywhere, water which had no place to recede, I sort of lost hope. And I'm grateful to my cabinet and members of the Provincial Assembly, other political parties who went to the affected flood people, held their hands and helped them in all possible ways. और उस वक्त फैज़ का एक शेर याद आया. मैंने कहा ना, I literally lost hope. और ऐसी कुछ थी बात कि ये शेर मुझे याद आया कि दिल ना उम्मीद तो नहीं, नाकाम ही तो है, लंबी है गम की शाम मगर शाम ही तो है, और उस शाम के बाद सुबह आई. बहुत मेहरबानी. Really. Sir, in addition to providing immediate relief, which I talked about earlier, The government of Sindh, along with its partners, also focused on mobilizing resources for recovery, rehabilitation and reconstruction. Federal Ministry of Planning and Development, along with Provincial Planning and Development Department and line departments, coordinated effectively to undertake the post-disaster needs assessment to quantify the damage and losses that were estimated to be more than $20 billion in Sindh, constituting about 70% of the country's damage and losses. The assessment was completed on 28th October 2022. The water was still there, but we completed our assessment. However, the flood water, as I said, had not receded by that time. Government of Sindh proactively worked on developing its own strategic action plan. The flood response aligned with the contours of our resilient recovery, rehabilitation and reconstruction framework, which assessed the financial needs of the province at about $11.6 billion. The post-disaster need assessment, however, formed the basis of Pakistan's advocacy at the Climate Resilient Pakistan Conference held in Geneva on 9 January 2023, where multilateral and bilateral partners pledged $10.96 billion to help the country with post-flood recovery and reconstruction. Even though we reoriented about rupees 87 billion of the provincial ADP towards flood rehabilitation, the substantial financial gap in meeting the reconstruction needs remained. Within a month after the conference in Geneva, the Government of Sindh organized the conference on Resilient Sindh from pledges to reconstruction on 8 February 2023 in Karachi, which was chaired by Foreign Minister and Chairman Pakistan People's Party Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. We had over 300 participants comprising multilateral and bilateral partners, along with leading figures from the private sector and NGOs to encourage them to invest in infrastructure development. Within record time, the Government of Sindh worked with development partners in conceiving projects of over rupees $2 billion for post-flood recovery, rehabilitation and reconstruction. The government's focus is centered on providing low-cost climate-resilient housing, reviving agricultural activity and livelihood, including livestock, rebuilding damaged irrigation infrastructure, rehabilitating damaged provincial highways and internal road infrastructure, restoring water incineration, and rehabilitation of damaged education and health facilities. The World Bank-supported project Sindh Flood Emergency Reconstruction Project aims to deliver owner-driven multi-hazard resilient reconstruction of core housing units in 24 flood-affected districts of Sindh. Financial assistance of rupees 300,000 and rupees 50,000 respectively is provided to affected people whose houses are partially damaged. Estimated damaged houses are about 2.1 million. However, in the first phase, 350,000 housing units to be dispersed, financial assistance for fully and partially damaged houses. Mr. Speaker, our founder, Chairman Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto said, and I quote, "It is not the walls that make a city, it is the man who makes it." For the Government of Sindh, this housing reconstruction project signifies more than just rebuilding homes. Pakistan People's Party believes in empowerment of the people of Sindh. Therefore, the Chairman Pakistan People's Party has directed us that every affected person will be awarded title to the land on which his house is built. This is a huge task which Chairman Pakistan People's Party has given to the Government of Sindh, and inshallah ta'ala, under his guidance, we will complete this task. The Government of Sindh is also undertaking another comprehensive Sindh flood emergency rehabilitation project with the World Bank's assistance. Under this project, we have so far plugged 208 breaches and rehabilitated 11 small dams. Other drainage works will be carried out important works will be carried out in 2023-24. Under this project, we will also construct 168 roads having a total length of 932.85 kilometers in 19 districts, restore 2,904 water supply and drainage schemes, and provide cash transfers to rupees 7,500 each to 850,000 vulnerable households in areas affected during floods in 2022. We have all this financing available, as I told the Cabinet earlier today. The project also supports expansion of Sindh Emergency Rescue Service 1122 in 9 additional districts. 10 districts are already covered. Further 15 satellite stations on highway and motorways will also be established to address the casualties caused in road accidents. With the assistance of the Asian Development Bank, the Government of Sindh is undertaking emergency flood assistance project to improve 805 kilometers of flood/rain affected roads for rehabilitation in numerous villages and towns covering thickly populated areas. Under the Sindh Water and Agriculture Transformation Project, the Government of Sindh has registered 296,819 farmers with a target area of more than almost 2.1 million acres for wheat subsidy. This includes 234,000 farmers having land up to 12.5 acres and 62,812 farmers having land from 12.5 to 25 acres. The Government of Sindh is also undertaking critical human capital centered projects with the World Bank. These are the Strengthening Social Protection Delivery System in Sindh project, which will improve health and nutrition services and implement a conditional cash transfer program for pregnant women and mothers of child under 2 years of age during the first 1,000 days of life. The project will benefit about 1.3 million pregnant women and mothers of children aged under 2 years in 15 districts of Sindh. The Sindh Integrated Health and Population Project will rehabilitate and upgrade 392 government dispensaries, 97 rural health centers, 39 Tehsil headquarter hospitals, 20 public health and community midwife schools, and reconstruct fully damaged 121 basic health units. Government of Sindh possible whatever we have done. As we said, we worked very hard, but as you know, in order to get $1.2 billion from the IMF, the federal government has been working hard for the last several years. In just 3 months, 3 to 4 months, we were able to formulate and get approvals for almost $1 billion from the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. And I want, during this budget speech of 2023-24, extend appreciation for Mr. Naji Ben Hassin, Country Director World Bank. I believe I saw Abid sitting somewhere there. Thanks to you and your entire team. Support in materializing the project for post-flood recovery and reconstruction. Sir, I'll also thank the Group Executive Director for Pakistan at World Bank Washington, an of the Government of Sindh, Mr. Naveed Kamran Baloch, who helped us immensely during the approval process in Washington, D.C. We are also thankful to the unwavering support of the Asian Development Bank, the United Nations agencies, and all other international partners who supported the government's efforts during and after the devastating floods of 2022. So even though we have accomplished a lot, much more is still required to be done. I am thankful to the federal government for pleading the nation's case on all international forums. My cabinet colleagues, they worked overtime to ensure timely completion of all policies. Since role was instrumental in activities, Chairman PND Board and his entire team worked diligently in reorienting the annual development plan in the wake of floods and negotiating remarkable support from the development partners for flood emergency projects in record time. I also would like to appreciate the efforts of the Irrigation Department, Works and Services Department, Agriculture, Health, and all other departments for education and all other departments for proactively working on conceiving and executing the post-flood rehabilitation projects and initiatives. However, the momentum of earmarking and mobilizing substantial local resources for resilient recovery must continue to deal with the mammoth task of building back better in the aftermath of the catastrophe. Sir, I'll very briefly talk about the 2022-23 expenditure on the development side. As I told you, inshallah, our development expenditure will stand at a record 406 billion rupees for this current year 2022-23. This includes a provincial ADP expenditure of rupees 226 billion, district expenditure of ADP of rupees 20 billion, 147.8 billion of foreign projects.
Please order in the house of bed. Disturb.
1.5 billion of federal PSP schemes. The provincial ADP of 2022-23 comprised of 4,108 schemes, including 253 billion for 2,506 ongoing schemes and 71,000 schemes. Problems, and because of that we had to revise our rate schedules, and the development process almost stopped for a few months because the contractors not to work on the old rates, revise the rates. Despite that, we have completed the highest number of development schemes in this year. I think it's 762. Prior to this, the highest was again in 2014, but we surpassed this year despite all the problems. Financial year, for the year 5,248 schemes, 3,311 ongoing, and 1,988. Due to initiating new projects for rehabilitation, reconstruction, statement is just a major services department. We are going to reconstruction of roads from the provincial ADP. Talking about the provincial ADP here, the government department has been allocated 62.5 billion rupees. The irrigation has been allocated 35 billion rupees. Health 19.7 billion. And details are in the budget book and also in my budget speech. Sir, I'd briefly like to talk about this 2023-24. I will tell the things in the last take this forward, inshallah, in the next year. So beginning the next financial year, the current tenure of the Pakistan, to build the province on foundations laid. People recognize and are convinced that PPP government has made untiring efforts to outlook into a progressive province, Sindh into a progressive province of Pakistan. Overwhelming success of the Pakistan People's Party in the recent local government body elections, the legacy of fair play, equity and transparency. The vision, though, fills us with pride, yet challenges us to stark reality of economic uncertainty. The story of last 5 changes all around the COVID Pakistan direct bearing on the common man. Despite that, vows to leave no stone unturned to ensure economic and political stability in the province, contributing its share common national of leadership of Pakistan People's Party. Briefly give the August House tenure. Worldwide as the expenditure schools for education, 312 billion in the budget of 2015, budget of 292 billion. Budget of financial year activities. Undoubtedly, this year's distinguishing feature remained the recruitment of 50 and middle school teachers purely on a rigorous competitive testing and verification process have been given and posted in schools. Appointed primary teachers holding graduate degrees upgraded from BS9 to BS14, enhancing the career progression. In the realm of school upgrades, 57 primary institutions have been elevated to the middle schools, while 15 middle schools have been upgraded to secondary schools. In a similar way, primary school teachers holding graduate degrees have been upgraded from BS9 to basic scale 14 to enhance their career progression. In addition, 150 secondary schools have been upgraded to higher secondary school. To support this, 892 new positions have been approved with a financial implication of 846 million. For colleges, a substantial rupees 26.78 billion has been kept. Rupees 400 million for furniture and fixtures and rupees 425 million for maintenance and repair of college buildings. We are also in the process of recruiting 1,500 lecturers to the Sindh Public Service Commission. Additionally, we are making strides with 23 new colleges, creating 445 new positions and physical assets with a budget of rupees 403 million for the coming fiscal year. We are working on strengthening the Sindh Higher Education Commission, and 23.076 billion have been allocated for Sindh Higher Education Commission for the next financial year. Furthermore, the grant to all public sector universities have been substantially increased from 17.4 billion in the current financial year to rupees 25.2 billion in the next financial year. The Sindh Education Foundation, which is again our star performer, has done work. We have increased its budgetary allocation from rupees 2 billion to rupees 15.6 billion in the next year. We have recently started a new initiative. The Government of Sindh, through the Foundation, has launched a new program named as Accelerated Digital Learning Program. Under this program, Foundation is partnering with Teach the World Foundation with an overarching objective of addressing the challenge of out-of-school children across Sindh, as well as to improve learning and socio-economic gains. The salient features of the joint intervention by SEF and Teach the World Foundation under Accelerated Digital Learning Program include total of 125 micro schools will be established targeting 12,500 learners across Sindh. The learning will be carried out on Android tablets having profile of each student with access to customized learning application using gamification and self-learning models. Government proposes rupees 710 million for the Accelerated Digital Learning Program through Sindh Education Foundation. So I've seen the performance of this myself, and actually we did not start until they did a pilot project from their own funding. And the results that we saw were so promising that we've engaged with them, we are partnering with them, and as I said, 710 million rupees have been allocated for this, and the SEF is going to be administrating this. For distribution of free textbooks, 2.53 billion have been earmarked. In addition, rupees 1.55 billion will be invested towards non-operation of non-formal education centers to address this issue of out-of-school children. Projects of DEEP and Aspire, in order to bolster female literacy, we have allocated rupees 800 million for girl stipends and rupees 140 million for special children. Through the successful negotiations with the European Union, the government has secured budgetary support under the European Union Development Education through Enhanced Program DEEP with an enhanced allocation. The budget now stands at rupees 8 billion, out of which rupees 5 billion are allocated for implementation of education sector plan under DEEP and 3 billion for restoration of flood damaged schools. Similarly, additional support has been obtained from European Union under the program Action to Strengthen Performance for Inclusive and Responsive Education, abbreviated as ASPIRE, increasing the area allocation from rupees 2.2 to rupees 4 billion. We have also taken over 5,125 NCHT and BCHS teachers from the federal government and will be providing rupees 1.5 billion annually for their salaries. We are continuing giving grants to public school, and grant and aid to public schools has been increased from rupees 140 million to around 400 million. Furthermore, significant rupees 5 billion to rupees 4.25 million have been set aside for repair and maintenance of schools and colleges respectively. STEPTA's grant for next year is going to be rupees 2 billion for technical education. I come to health, which has been the key performer in the province of Sindh in the last 5 years, and not only in the province of Sindh. I think we are recognized nationally, not only nationally but internationally, provided tertiary health. Health in societies and with health society. Budget 2023-24 for health services have been proposed to as rupees 214.547 billion for non-development against the budget estimate of for the current financial year. We spent more than 233 billion in current financial year to provide state healthcare infrastructure facilities to general public and running programs of prevention and control of disease. I'll just go to what most recent government organizations. The grant to Sindh Institute of Urology and Transplant has been increased to rupees 15.316 billion for the next. This is an increase of 5 billion rupees over current year's allocation. The funds will be utilized in financial year 2023-24 for installation purchase of 2 robotic surgery systems, one in BIUT Shahid Benazirabad and 1 system in SIUT Larkana, Mehrnisa Medical Complex, Karachi, and Sakhar Medical Complex, SIUT. We've given a provision of rupees 6 billion for Peer Abdul Qadir Shah Jilani Institute of Medical Sciences, Gampad, including 845 million for procurement of linear accelerator with integrated high-field MRI for treatment of cancer patients, and rupees 1 billion for procurement of 1 robotic surgical system for treatment of poor patients. For bone marrow transplantation and kidney center, 60 million have been kept for the bone marrow transplant at Dow University Health Sciences, and rupees 200 million will be provided as grant and aid to Kidney Center, Karachi. To Indus Hospital, we are increasing the grant for next year to rupees 4 billion, and in addition, for the expansion of the hospital, we have enhanced the grant in the next financial year to rupees 4 billion. In addition, looking at our public-private partnership experience and our success, we have recently teamed up with another non-governmental organization, the Children of Adam, and constructing a neuropsychiatry hospital, the first of its kind in Karachi, and the land for this has been given it's been purchased by the organization. We've given the land, we've also given some seed money, and they're in the process of, the construction has started, and inshallah we are working with them to give them some hospitals and give them the new hospital that they're building. The huge hospital is going to be in Gadab. They also wanted something in the center of the city, and we're looking at an area in Korangi to give them this, give them this land so they can provide this service. To Jinnah Postgraduate Medical Center, an amount of 7.196 billion along with 2013 posts have been earmarked in current financial year 2022-23. Besides, following measures have been adopted for providing free of cost quality healthcare service to deprived and marginal segments of society. The bedded capacity of Jinnah Postgraduate Medical Center has been enhanced from 1,100, we doubled it to 2,000, more than doubled it actually, 2,208. Hiring of 1,925 well-qualified and experienced senior doctors, staff nurses and skilled technicians to run the hospital 24/7. Budgetary provisions for financial year 2023-24 have been increased. I can see all my ministers are looking at schemes and not listening to the budget speech. Budgetary provision of financial year rupees 11.217 billion along with the total of 4,258 posts. Funds will be utilized entirely for the following activities. Sir, the government of Sindh, the province of Sindh, the JPMC, had the unique distinction of providing state-of-the-art cyber knife radiation facility at the Jinnah Postgraduate Medical Center. They did not have one, but two cyber knives. And it is the only place on the planet where the service is provided free of cost. And while speaking to them, the first machine that I bought was more than 10 years old. We just celebrated 10 years and they wanted a new machine, and the government of Sindh has given more than ₹1 billion, and this, inshallah ta'ala, this new cyber knife machine, this robot, will be purchased. I've told them before 14th of August this year so that we can go and inaugurate it. And this facility which the government of Sindh gives, if you go anywhere else on the planet, you will spend anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 for treatment, depending on how many sessions you do. And here in the province of Sindh, along with the Patient Aid Foundation, the government of Sindh is providing this service free of cost, not only to the residents of Sindh, to the residents of Pakistan, but several expatriates have come, expat Pakistanis have come here and got treated in this facility. The grant of Patient Aid Foundation at JPMC has been increased from rupees 240 million to rupees 640 million in the next financial year. Recurring grant of 2 billion has been allocated for the robotic surgical system, this is the cyber knife system, because we bear all the operational costs of it. Additional 180 slots of postgraduates have been created at the cost of rupees 225 million. Additional 165 slots of student nurses have been created at the cost of rupees 59.4 million. Other grants include grants of 12.75 billion to PPHI, which takes care of most of the primary health services, and our health department is constantly monitoring the PPHI work, and wherever we feel that there is any slowness in service, the health department is monitoring that. The grant to Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto Institute of Trauma, Karachi has been enhanced from rupees 2.4 billion to rupees 3.1 billion. Funds of rupees 600 million have been allocated to Trauma Center in Larkana. The grant of Syed Abdullah Shah Institute of Medical Sciences, Seven Sharif, has been enhanced from rupees 1.35 billion to rupees 1.85 billion. Funds amounting to rupees 750 million as grant to Sindh Institute of Endoscopy and Gastroenterology at Ruth 4 Civil Hospital, Karachi. And I'll talk about this just a month ago, less than a month ago now, I think, we inaugurated the Sindh Institute of Endoscopy and Gastroenterology at the Civil Hospital. And if anybody has not gone to see this facility, please go there. I'm grateful to Dr. Saad. I don't know if he is here today or not. I did invite him to come over. We have created, the government of Sindh, along with the private donors. As I said, we've had a stellar record in public-private partnerships, especially in the health sector. We conceived this project. Dr. Saad came to me and he promised that whatever the government of Sindh gives, he will endeavor to match that from the private sector, and he was able to do it. And I believe 800 million rupee facility has been created, and for its operation starting next year, we will be giving a grant of 750 million rupees so that all endoscopic, I'm not an expert, I'm sure Dr. Azra, when she gives a budget speech, will talk about it. Again, these facilities are nowhere else in Pakistan. They are as good as any facility in any developed country of the world. And I suggest that people go and see this as to what the government of Sindh has been able to do. For dialysis of poor patients, we are giving a total grant of 205 million rupees to different institutes, different dialysis centers throughout the province, and we give grants to them. Sir, I'll just skip the vertical programs. We're giving free treatment to thalassemia patients. I'll talk about the child health services a little. In the financial year 2023-24, the Sindh government has allocated significant funding to ensure free health care for children in the province. Following budgetary provisions have been kept in 2023-24 for child health care services. A provision of 1.95 billion has been kept for 3 children health care institutes. Under the Accelerated Action Plan in the agriculture sector, we are committing rupees 153 million to combat child stunting and malnutrition. Grant to Sindh Institute of Child Health and Neonatology has been increased from rupees 200 million to rupees 300 million. The director I see is right there, Dr. Jamal. And again, if somebody wants to see what the Sindh government is doing, go to the Sindh Institute of Child Health Hospital in Kurangi. Under one roof, we have more emergency beds than all the private hospitals combined in the province of Sindh, under one roof. So, we are very proud of what we have done. We also need people to go. See, people are, and everybody must be thinking, why does Pakistan People's Party win the elections in Sindh? We win elections in Sindh because our leadership is committed, our leadership guides us constantly, and the aim of the leadership is कि शहीद जुल्फ़िकार अली भुट्टो और मोहतरमा शहीद बेनज़ीर भुट्टो का जो फ़लसफ़ा है कि अपने आवाम की खिदमत करनी है, वो जारी रखते हैं. दैट इज़ द रीज़न, कोई और जादू नहीं है. Under performance-based agreements, we have outsourced operation of children emergency rooms to Child Life Foundation in 9 government hospitals, including Dr. Ruth Fogg Civil Hospital, National Institute of Child Health, Sindh Government Hospital, Kurangi 5, Abbasi Shaheed Hospital, Karachi, Liari General Hospital, Karachi, People's Medical College, Nawab Shah, Chandka Medical College Hospital, Larkano, Ghulam Ahmad Mahar Medical College, Sakkar, and Liaquat University of Medical and Health Sciences, Jamshedpur. I talked about NICH a little. The NICH Karachi, for National Institute of Child Health Karachi, an amount of 1.758 billion, along with a total of 1,235 posts, was earmarked in the current financial year. Following measures have been taken. The bedded capacity has been increased from 443 to 553. Hiring of 310 well-qualified and experienced senior doctors, staff, nurses and skilled technicians to run the hospital service 24/7. For the year 2023-24, budgetary provisions have been increased from rupees 1.758 billion to rupees 2.067 billion, along with a total of 1,262 posts. For medical education, we are providing an allocation of rupees 13.252 billion in the next financial year. We have also enhanced stipend rates and increased slots of postgraduates and house job officers in the University of Sindh. I will just, because here I'll just skip some other slides here. I'll talk about the Sindh Emergency Service Rescue 1122. Sindh government took the initiative to develop Sindh Emergency Rescue Service to facilitate the people dwelling in remote areas having restricted access to standard medical facilities. Sindh government has secured IDA grant to establish an integrated and independent emergency response service in Sindh with a dedicated helpline number 1122. The service has been operational since May 2022 and is currently providing service across 8 districts with a fleet of 203 ambulances and a fully equipped command and control center. So, sir, I talked about the health sector. As I said, we're very proud of what we've done in health, and it's going to be a challenge even for us to sustain this and continue this in the years to come. The next sector that I'll talk about is transport and mass transit. For the financial year, there's a 92% increase in the budget of transport and mass transit from 6.9 billion to rupees 13.4 billion. Government of Sindh is committed to provide safe and modern transport facilities at an affordable price to all citizens. In line with this, we have provided funds of rupees 6.1 billion for Sindh intra-district bus service this year. As an antidote to hiking fuel and fare prices, a one-time fare subsidy of rupees 247 million has been provided to Sindh intra-district people's bus service to be passed on to consumers. A provision of rupees 2 billion has been kept for operation and maintenance of the bus service. In phase 2 of the project, an allocation of rupees 10 billion has been kept for inclusion of fleet of an additional 500 diesel hybrid buses. To facilitate employees of Sindh Secretariat, 3 new routes will start from next year with a provision of 6 billion. So 500 new diesel hybrid buses, we kept provision in the budget for that. Government of Sindh is establishing a modern terminal at Karachi, Thatta, Badin and Miro Khan. In the first phase, the construction of bus terminals at Thatta Road and Miro Khan is under process. We are doing the BRT Red Line project in Karachi with the Asian Development Bank. It will be a state-of-the-art third-generation BRT system with a development expenditure of rupees 78 billion. The project is a zero-subsidy project, and 250 bio-hybrid buses will be provided, will provide service to more than 350,000 passengers per day. Additionally, we are also spending rupees 2.9 billion to improve the drainage along the corridor, and more than 25,000 trees will be planted in addition to landscaping works of worth park rupees 63.4 million along the corridor. I talked about the People's Bus Service. You must have all seen the red bus services. They are now operating in Karachi, Hyderabad, Sakkar and Larkano. And inshallah ta'ala we'll expand them to all the other cities of the province. Mr. Speaker, commencement of People's Bus Service has been the hallmark of current year's achievement. Government of Sindh has successfully launched People's Bus Service in Karachi, Hyderabad, Sakkar and Larkano to facilitate general public, and overwhelming response has been received. There are 9 routes operating in Karachi, including 2 EV bus routes. The pink bus service, and I'll talk more about it when I talk about women empowerment. I'll just do that. Besides this, we have routes operating in Larkana, Sakkar and Hyderabad. He remembered it now in transportation. I'll talk about women development and empowerment, keeping in mind the inspirational words of the father of the nation, and I quote, "No nation can rise to the height of glory unless your women are side by side with you." We believe in integration of women into the provincial economy by improving their status, by inclusion of women in development planning and decision making, as well as for the design of policies and programs that address the specific needs and rights of women. Accordingly, budget estimates for financial year 2023-24 has been proposed at rupees 75 million against last year's allocation of rupees 644 million. A provision of 500 million has been kept for the Benazir Women Agriculture Workers Program. The program will improve the agricultural output and livelihood standards of rural women associated with agriculture farming. An allocation of rupees 300 million has been kept for safe houses for women in the coming financial year. A provision of 64 million has been kept to establish support fund for female and juvenile prisoners. The pink bus service, as I said, women play a vital role in national progress. In recognition of the pivotal role in provincial economic uplift and provide them with a hassle-free travelling experience, Government of Sindh has started a pink bus service for women exclusively, which is under operation on route 1, 2 and 10 in Karachi. Besides, 1 route each is operating in Larkana, Sakkar and Hyderabad, and inshallah we'll increase the service in coming years. For empowerment of persons with disabilities, here again the Government of Sindh leads the other provinces, and we are very, very proud of our work that we have done in providing for empowering of persons with disabilities. So the reports of the World Health Organization reflects that 15% of the world populations are persons with disabilities. They are found to be socially and economically discriminated segments of a society. Sindh government is determined to extend maximum support through imparting vocational education, IT skills, and supplying assistive technology with artificial intelligence applications to empower them to contribute in developmental process. To achieve this noble cause, we have kept a provision of rupees 6.1 billion for the year 2023-24 against a budget of rupees 3.4 billion in the current financial year 2022-23. The allocation for this sector has been almost doubled. In current financial year, we have provided rupees 879.5 million for differently abled persons, organizations working in the field of special education, such as Family Education Service Foundation, CRs, DEVA, NDF, DWA, and now PDP. Moreover, funds of rupees 250 million have been kept for differently abled persons under Pro-Poor program, and rupees 75 million have been provided for adopt a special education school program. For the next financial year, the amount will be utilized. 358 million have been kept to purchase pick and drop vehicles for our special children. A grant of over 1 billion has been earmarked for different organizations having experience in its special education. An amount of 1 billion have been proposed for differently abled person organization under Pro-Poor program. An amount of rupees 400 million has been kept for purchasing assistive devices for special children persons. A provision of 100 million is earmarked for establishing database of differently abled persons in Sindh. Rupees 75 million have been earmarked for adopt a special education school program. Rupees 50 million for capacity building and training of teachers of DPD. 10 million for teachers manager training at special education teachers training academy, Jamshoro. And here I'd like to say that we, as said, there are grants to private sector organizations, and we are working very well with a number of organizations. We've got our own CRs for autism. We are working with KBTC, and I see Senator Hasib here. And we're working with HANDS. We're working with now DPD. We are working with the Down Syndrome Society of Pakistan. And together we are trying to cater for these special children, to empower them. Very quickly, livestock and fisheries. The budget for next year for livestock has been proposed at 10.9, almost 11 billion rupees. And this includes 150 million for newly established Livestock Breeding Services Authority, rupees 120 million for holding Sindh Livestock Expo event, and rupees 1.88 billion for implementation of the accelerated action plan in the livestock sector for addressing stunting and malnutrition. In the forestation sector, a provision of 2.78 billion has been earmarked in the budget estimates for non-development expenditure related to forest and wildlife against 2.45 in the current financial year. It includes 368 million for conservancy and development of new forest nurseries. Sindh government is committed to unconditional contribution to a global drive for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We will be able to earn $200 to 220 million, equivalent to about rupees 63 billion of carbon credits over the next 2 decades for its efforts to expand mangrove forest. Under the nationally determined contribution NDC to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 2021, Sindh government will work on sectors of energy, industry, forest, agriculture and transport to reduce its share of greenhouse emissions based on population, that is 55 tons of CO2 equivalents by 2035. We are already implementing 2 Indus Delta mangrove projects, the Delta Blue Carbon 1 and Delta Blue Carbon 2, in collaboration with private sector to generate $4.7 million in revenues of Sindh. We are the only province which has been able to get carbon credits, and 14.7 million have already been 14.7 million. And as I said, over the next couple of decades, we, inshallah, will get about $250 million from carbon credits. Religious harmony, special measures have been taken to promote religious harmony in the province. Government of Sindh extends utmost support and financial assistance irrespective of their faith and associations to maintain congenial environment of equality and brotherhood. Budget estimate 2023-24 bear witness to this. effect with a provision of rupees 1.52 billion. A provision of rupees 1 billion has been set aside as a grant in aid for financial assistance and welfare of non-Muslim communities, coupled with rupees 50 million kept aside for Pakistan Hindu Council. In addition, a lump sum of rupees 250 million has been designated for renovation, repair and maintenance of buildings and structures of minority worship places and installation of surveillance equipments in the next financial year 2023-24, so that they may exercise the religious rituals in a pleasant atmosphere. Law and order is the first responsibility of the government. We have enhanced budget allocations for the Home Department for the upcoming financial year, reflecting our commitment to ensuring peace and security in Sindh. By allocating resources effectively, we aim to provide our law enforcement and security agencies with the necessary tools and support to protect our province and maintain law and order. Sindh government has carefully prioritized allocation of funds of rupees 143.56 billion for next financial year, with 15% increase over last year's allocation for following strategically significant activities. In budget 23-24, we've kept 15.5 billion each for prisons, policy and management boards for strategic improvements. Moreover, we are earmarking funds 63.4 million for strengthening the prisons department's technical capabilities. In order to better equip Sindh Police, we have allocated an amount of 2.796 billion in the next financial year for procurement of sophisticated field, military-grade weapons and surveillance equipment. A substantial amount of 3.569 billion have also been allocated for procurement of police vehicles to effectively serve and protect our citizens. To strengthen the specialized police department, funds amounting to rupees 846 million for special branch, 868 million for the counter-terrorism department have been allocated for fiscal year 2023-24. In current political, volatile and socially polarized conditions, agitation and mob movements are commonplace. However, to avoid disruptions for the commuters and general public, crowd management is essential. In the 2023-24 budget, we are establishing a 3,446-person crowd management unit to deal effectively with riots and expanding the rapid response force to a total of 4,127. An amount of 81.48 million has been allocated for both initiatives in the upcoming financial year. An amount of 1.57 billion has been allocated in budget estimates of 23-24 for automatic number plate recognition cameras at key transit points across Sindh for improved security and safer commute. In our commitment to welfare for police force, rupees 272 million have been kept for medical reimbursement for all police personnel for the current fiscal year. For addressing problems of police trainees, fund of rupees 360 million have been proposed for feeding diet charges in next financial year, replacing the previous self-paid system. In order to strengthen our justice system, we are establishing the Sindh Forensic Science Laboratory for provision of precise and timely forensic results for effective investigation. Funds of rupees 134.5 million have been allocated in the next financial year for its successful functionality and operation. A provision of rupees 22 billion has been kept in the budget for law and parliamentary affairs against provision of 20.38 this year. A provision of 94 million has been kept for next financial year.
Please order in the house. आप लोग बैठ जाएं नीचे या बाहर चले जाएं. Don't disturb the house.
A provision of 94 million has been kept for next financial year for newly established High Court circuit at Mirpur Khas to enable the population of Central Sindh to have easy access to apex court. Besides this, funds of rupees 71 million have been kept for newly established sessions courts, civil court, family courts and other district attorney, district Sijawal with budgetary allocation of rupees 59.9 million in the annual budget of 2023-24. For legal aid assistance to people to contribute towards the social and economic transformation of Sindh province and to assert and develop rights of the underprivileged and marginalized communities across Sindh and contribute to the development of human rights jurisprudence, an amount of rupees 100 million has been allocated through budget estimate of 2023-24 for grant of legal aid assistance to downtrodden, poor, needy victims of human rights violations. In order to provide speedy and inexpensive administrative justice to masses at their doorsteps and to increase population and expansion of Karachi city, 3 new regional offices of provincial ombudsman have been established in districts of Kiamadi, Korangi and in district Sangad with a budgetary provision of rupees 87 million 29 million each out of the overall budget estimate of 823 million in the current financial year. So irrigation, Sindh has one of the largest irrigation systems in the country. It faced colossal losses in the last rain and floods, which now demands extra funding in the next financial year. Therefore, significant amount of rupees 25 billion, apart from what we are getting under the FERB program, has been kept in budget estimates. It includes rupees 9 billion for silt clearance, rupees 5 billion for overall repairs and maintenance system, and rupees 750 million for salinity control and reclamation project. So we have allocated rupees 16 million for the payment of water utilization cess for Rabi and Kharif season to Indus River System Authority, reflecting a commitment to responsible water use in compliance with national regulations. Although Sindh is presently facing 40% water shortage, however, Sindh expects federal government to understand the serious concerns over inclusion of controversial projects of Greater Thal Canal Phase 2 and Chaubara Branch Canal Phase 2 in ethnic, overriding the forums of CCI and violating the 1991 Water Apportionment Accords. The provincial government of Sindh, the irrigation department, has been contesting this in the ethnic, and we will continue contesting and ensure that we get our fair share of water from the rivers of Pakistan. Now I'll just list the next few up. The agriculture sector, agriculture engineering sector. I'll just say, tell you that we are going to provide 1,258 agriculture implements to growers on 50% subsidy, installation of 941 regular and solar powered tube wells at subsidized cost, installation of 10 cold storage units, development of 10,795 hectares land through bulldozer operation, installation of 25 solar submersible pumps for Tharparkar, 259 water courses have already been improved, additional lining of up to 50% water courses under improvement already completed under CIP project, 74 farms high efficiency irrigation system installed, 5,000 kitchen garden gates provided, and 35 farmer field schools established. We have kept rupees 7.87 billion in the public health engineering department for provision of clean drinking water. The government of Sindh is determined to make sure that all its reverse osmosis and ultrafiltration plants are operational, and rupees 228.417 million have been allocated to ensure the continued operation and maintenance of the 14 MTD ultrafiltration plants in Nawab Shah City, District Shaheed Benazirabad. In the sports and recreation departments, Sindh government has always facilitated the talented youth of the province to mark their indelible impression countrywide and internationally. We recognize the importance of sports and recreational activities in developing a healthy mind. Fortunately, majority of our population consists of youth. We need to capitalize on this vital human resource and provide them opportunities to strive and excel in all fields of life. Therefore, the budget provision for activities relating to sports has been proposed at rupees 1.83 billion for next year. I'd also like to inform the August House just recently, a boy from Larkana climbed Mount Everest, and the government of Sindh had sponsored him, and from the peak of Mount Everest he thanked Chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and the government of Sindh for the help that has been provided. So our youth has the potential, we just have to support them. Culture and tourism, to further promote Sindh's rich cultural heritage, support literary activities and to conserve our archaeological sites and monuments, a provision of 7.5 billion has been kept in the next financial year, which is a 24% increase from rupees 6.5 billion in the current financial year. Besides, a provision of 32.543 million has been kept to establish 7 new public libraries in Sindh. These libraries will be located in Latifabad, Hyderabad, Pithoro, Sijawal, Kambar City, Hyderabad, Kotri, and District Umarkot. Food security, we did a Ramzan package where through the Benazir income support program, as I told you, the gift that President Asif Ali Zardari had given to the nation of the Benazir income support program gives us a vehicle to quickly reach the people, and through this vehicle, through the Benazir income support program, we were able to give a targeted subsidy to 7.9 million low-income families of rupees 2,000 during the month of Ramzan to get flour at 50% the price at 65 rupees per mond. I'll just skip the next few pages. The PPP projects, the public-private partnership projects, we've got 2 or 3, actually several pages on the public-private partnership project, but I'll just quickly summarize that the government of Sindh is ranked 6th in all of Asia in PPP projects. We are only one of the 2 subnational governments which has been ranked by the Economist magazine. And we rank higher than Pakistan. Pakistan is ranked at number 12 in PPP projects, and the province of Sindh is ranked at number 6. And this initiative came under the visionary leadership of President Asif Ali Zardari during his tenure in 2008. He started the public-private partnership unit. My predecessor, my mentor, Kamil Shah Saab is here, and he initiated this project with the first project of Hyderabad Mirpur Khas dual carriageway, and we've never looked back since then. We are building 2 bridges under public-private partnership. One is complete, the other one is under construction, though we've got some law and order problems there, but despite that we'll inshallah complete that quickly. We've done hospitals, we've done power projects, we've done education and health service facilities. We've done road projects, the Karachi-Thatta dual carriageway. We've done water supply projects. We've excelled in public-private partnership, and apart from that, we've got a framework under which we, as I said, we do service delivery through our public-private partnership program, and we've had a very large success in this. I'll quickly talk about environment and alternate green revolution. Budget estimates 2023-24 environment and energy related has been kept at rupees 46.1 billion, depicting a 46% increase over last year's allocation of 31.45 billion. A provision of 50 million has been kept for the Sindh Green Fund for the fiscal year 2023-24. These will be employed to maintain, renovate, rehabilitate our public parks, ensuring that these spaces continue to serve as green lungs for our urban areas and peaceful retreat for our citizens. Government is focused to combat energy crisis by using alternate energy resources. We have abundance of solar energy which may be utilized to solarize buildings and installations. So far, 1,180 villages have been electrified and energized at the cost of rupees 1.3 billion. We plan to install solar potential measuring mass at 6 different locations, help solarize 669 government schools in 10 districts, that is Kambar Shadadkot, Dadu, Shikarpur, Shahid Benazirabad, Ladkana, Tharparkar, Umarkot, Sangar, Badin and Sijawal, 6 prisons, 180 primary health facilities and 7 pumping stations in district Tharparkar. In addition, we are giving free electricity to the consumers who consume 100 units of less in the Talca of Islam Court from the government of Sindh. Their electricity bill is paid by the government of Sindh. The government of Sindh is committed to provision of efficient and management energy resources in the province. For the fiscal year 2023-24, we dedicated a significant amount of rupees 41.5 billion against last year's provision of 28 billion for payment to HESCO, SEPCO, K-Electric, local councils, KWSP and other government departments. Sir, I'll just skip the next few pages. I'll talk about population and social welfare protection. The government of Sindh is committed to fostering a conducive environment and providing substantial opportunities to promote social progress, development and welfare for underserved residents of Sindh. In line with this mission, in current year 2022-23, we have provided rupees 10 million for establishment of drug control and rehabilitation unit. Moreover, rupees 40 million has been provided for trust orphanages Prem Nagar and Tharparkar. Likewise, rupees 15.5 million have been provided for Khoja Isna Shri Jamaat. Budget estimates for year 2023-24 for social welfare and protection activities have been pitched at rupees 5.69 billion. These funds will be utilized on the following activities in the year 23-24. On the other hand, budget estimate for welfare activities stand at 6.5 billion, which include rupees 900 million allocated for provision of contraceptives for family planning centers in Sindh. Fund amounting to rupees 172.6 million have been earmarked for leprosy KMC Hospital in Mangopeet, and rupees 94.3 million have been allocated for the Youth Development Center at Dil Goat Malir. To assist in financial sustainability of impoverished artisans, a grant in aid of rupees 50 million has been earmarked for Apwa Rana Liaquat Craftsmen's Colony Welfare Project at Karachi, coupled with rupees 100 million each for SOS homes and drug addict rehabilitation centers. In recognition of the valuable contribution to society, the Sadiq Foundation in Karachi will receive an enhanced grant in aid of rupees 20 million. Similarly, the Sindh Social Welfare Council in Karachi will benefit from an increased grant in aid of rupees 30 million. Similarly, rupees 1.545 billion has been kept for various social welfare protection initiatives in Karachi, Dadu and Khairpur. Sindh government, I'll briefly talk about technology. Sindh government has taken special measures to equip all departments with advanced technologies to bring them at par with sister provinces. Budget estimates for 2023-24 for this sector stand at rupees 1.24 billion against current year's allocation of rupees 361 million. Funds will be utilized for implementation of following activities: surveillance, worship places of minorities, the scheme for the establishment of modern high-tech surveillance and monitoring systems. Larger locations will have 16 or more cameras as per requirement. Medium-sized locations will have 8 cameras and small only 4 cameras. All video cameras will be cable connected to a central room located in premises of the office. We are doing e-portal for all government departments of Sindh. We have money for the Sindh Digital Technology Board. We've introduced the Sindh Cloud First Policy, Information Science and Technology Department. We are undertaking certification programs. So a lot is being done in information technology, and we really like to move. In Archive and Preservation Department, the funds of rupees 38.75 million have been provided and development scheme for our activities. It will be completed in financial year 2024. This is a preservation of precious and sacred manuscripts. We are doing digitalization and web-based cataloging, and rupees 30 million has been allocated for that. Sindh Cultural Mart at Sindh Archives Department, 25.6 million were provided in the current financial year for this. I'll just, I have the industries and small and medium enterprises. The Works and Services Department, I told you, are inshallah going to build roads worth almost 150 billion rupees in the next financial year. We've got the funds available. Apart from that, we've got about 20 billion rupees from the federal government on 4 very important roads, and inshallah work will start on that. For information advertisement policy, budget estimate of 23-24 for relating to information advertisement policy have been proposed to be rupees 9.47 billion. A provision of 62.13 million has been kept for broadcast and social media monitoring services through NTC platform. Moreover, a provision of 252 million has been allocated as grant and aid endowment funds for various press clubs and deserving journalists. Besides, 55 million rupees have been earmarked as grant and aid for Sindh Information Commission. There are lots of fiscal measures that we've taken for collection of property tax by local councils. We've devolved that to the, and we've already started seeing very good results of that. We've got collection of taxes through alternate delivery channels and the sales tax on service. We are using this. So, I won't superannuation pension. We've kept about 20 billion rupees against current year's allocation for that. I will not bother you. Debt servicing and interest payments, the local financing. I will just skip all this, and also skip the fiscal governance reforms because they are all in the paper, in the speech, written speech. I will, before I get to the end of my speech, I will like to talk about certain fiscal monetary relief measures to neutralize the effects of soaring double-digit inflation. So before concluding my presentation today, I would like to reveal some of the relief measures adopted in next year's budget 2023-24 for the people of Sindh. We are going to increase salaries of our employees from grade 1 to 16. An increase of 35% is proposed. For grade 17 and above, 30% is proposed. And for pensioners, 17.5%. मैं अभी बता रहा हूँ ना, मेरी जबान है। ये आखिर में डिसाइड होता है ना, इसलिए रह जाता है इसमें। मैं दोबारा उर्दू में कह रहे हैं बताएं, और मैं कुछ और भी बताना चाहूँगा अगर आप सब तामुल से सुने। हम 35% सैलरीज बढ़ा रहे हैं, 30% बढ़ा रहे हैं ग्रेड 17 से ऊपर की, और 17.5% पेंशनर्स की। ये जो इंक्रीज आप देखेंगे ये वही है जो फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने कल अनाउंस किया है। लेकिन मैं आपको कुछ बता सकता हूँ, पिछले 5 साल में, यानी 2018-19 में, 19-20 में सॉरी, हमने ग्रेड 1 से 15 तक की 15% फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने 10% बढ़ाई। अगले साल हमने 10% बढ़ाई और फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने कितनी बढ़ाई? 0। ये मशहूर गवर्नमेंट जो थी ना, उससे अगला साल अभी भी वही गवर्नमेंट थी, हमने 20% बढ़ाई और उन्होंने 10% बढ़ाई। फिर पिछले साल गवर्नमेंट चेंज हुई, हमने भी 15%, फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने भी 15%, और इस साल फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने भी 35% और हमने भी 35%। अगर आप इन 5 साल का टोटल लेंगे, आपको बताऊं, हमारी सैलरी हमारे एम्प्लॉइज की जो ग्रेड 1 से 15 तक के, वो 188% बढ़ी है। सॉरी 188% बढ़ी है फेडरल गवर्नमेंट की, और हमारी बढ़ी है 236%। ये फर्क है पाकिस्तान पीपल, और आपने देखा जैसे ही पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी फेडरल गवर्नमेंट में, वहां पे भी पिछले साल भी 15% इंक्रीज और इस साल भी 35% इंक्रीज हुई है। तो ये हॉलमार्क है पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी का कि हम सोचते हैं। इसके साथ साथ जो मिनिमम वेज है उसके बारे में भी मैं कुछ बताना चाहूंगा। हमने पिछले साल मिनिमम वेज 25,000 की थी, 17.5 से 25 की थी, राइट? पिछले साल फेडरल गवर्नमेंट रिलक्टेंट थी, लेकिन वी स्टूड आवर ग्राउंड, और हमने कहा था, और मियां शहबाज शरीफ साहब ने अपनी पहली तकरीर में उसको 25,000 किया था। हमें प्रॉब्लम्स हुए थे, इसलिए कि उस वक्त हमने टाइम लगा था उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने में, लेकिन इम्प्लीमेंट हो गई। हमने आज कैबिनेट मीटिंग हुई, फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने उसको बढ़ा के 32,000 कर दिया है। हमने ये फैसला किया है और ये प्रपोजल हम दे रहे हैं कि ऑब्वियसली ये मेरे कुछ इंडस्ट्रीज के दोस्त भी मेरे ख्याल इधर आए हुए हैं, बैठे हुए हैं। मुझे पता है आपको इतनी पसंद नहीं आएगी बात, लेकिन मैं आपको हमेशा कहता हूँ, एम्प्लॉइज को पैसे देंगे, आपकी सवाब भी मिलेगा, प्रोडक्शन भी बढ़ेगी आपकी, बैठे आए। जितनी तनख्वाह हम अपने ग्रेड 1 से 15 तक के एम्प्लॉइज की बढ़ा रहे हैं, यानी 35%, हम रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे और मैं लेबर मिनिस्टर को कहूंगा इसको करें कि 35% बढ़ाई जाए और मिनिमम वेज 33,750 रुपए हो। 32,000 नहीं, 33,750 हो। जितनी इस जो ये गरीब हुकूमत है उतना बढ़ा रही है, कम से कम इतना तो आप भी बढ़ाए ना, 35% अगले साल के लिए। आई होप एमपीएस कुछ नहीं।
नंद कुमार की वो थी एक,
नंद कुमार ने अपनी इंटरेस्ट की बात सिर्फ की।
आपकी कंपनी के लिए चीफ मिनिस्टर के लिए वी हैव अ टेम्पररी लीडर ऑफ द ऑपोजिशन विद यू, सो दैट आपकी टेम्पररी।
Sir, I will conclude. I know it's been almost 2 hours that I've been on my feet, and I'm very grateful to all of you. It's been after a very long time that I've been able to make my speech without disturbance. I remember the first year of my speech. आपको मैं दे रहा हूँ ना, आप मैं दे रहा हूँ, मैं कह रहा हूँ मुझे अपना पहला साल याद है, ये इस जगह पे 4 फीट दूर खड़े होके, और जब मैं अपनी बजट स्पीच कर रहा था तो मुझे वो कह रहे थे पता नहीं 10 दिन 15 दिन, आपने सुना होगा क्या ऑल फॉल बक रहे थे। मैं तो उधर ही हूँ अल्लाह ताला के एहसान से, अपनी पार्टी लीडरशिप के जैसे अपने वालिदैन की तरफ से। वो नजर नहीं आ रहे, वो नजर नहीं आ रहे। मैं उन्हें इनवाइट करता हूँ, आए हाउस में बैठे। जो जिसने कानून अपने हाथ में लिया होगा उसको हम कुछ नहीं कहेंगे, उसको हम कुछ नहीं कहेंगे, और कह भी नहीं सकते कि हम लेकिन जिसने कानून हाथ में लिया उसके साथ हम सख्ती से निपटेंगे। हम पहले भी निपटे हैं, हम आगे जाके भी निपटेंगे। ये बहुत क्लियर मैसेज है कि आप मुल्क की सालमियत, मुल्क के इस्तेहकाम को इस तरीके से, और मुल्क की इधर आप सबको नाव में याद है वो भाई वो तुम्हारे को उस रेड बस ने नुकसान तुम्हारा पहुंचाया था जिसको तुमने जला दिया, या तुम्हें ईदी की एम्बुलेंस क्या तंग करती थी, ईदी की जलाई थी ईदी वाली, या पुलिस की गाड़ियां जलाने में तुम्हें क्या शौक, क्या मजा आ रहा था। तो वाटर बोर्ड की गाड़ियां, तो उनको नहीं छोड़ेंगे। ये बहुत क्लियर मैसेज है। बाकी सब जो लॉ अबाइडिंग सिटीजन है वो आए बैठे हमारे साथ, वो कुछ नहीं कहेगा। तो ये अल्लाह ताला का शुक्र है मैं इधर ही हूँ। आई एम हियर एंड आई एम हियर टू स्टे। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ अल्लाह ताला की मदद से और अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से मैं कंक्लूड करना चाह रहा हूँ, और मैं चाह रहा हूँ you know, Mr. Speaker, let us celebrate the achievements of the past 5 years, applauding the transformative impact on the life of common men through natural impediments had enormous diminishing effect, coupled with the trickle-down effect of global economic nosedive, an environment of political and social uncertainty. Nonetheless, there is always a silver lining under dark clouds. Pakistan People's Party has always lived up to the expectations of the people. In return, the people of this great province of Sindh has also bestowed us with the crown of their trust, support and affection. Together, we have laid the foundation of glimmering future. The opportunities abound and prosperity knows no bounds. As we forge ahead, let us remain steadfast in our resolve, knowing that with determination, collaboration and shared vision, we will overcome any obstacle that comes our way. The journey has been arduous, but the reward will be immeasurable. Mr. Speaker, sir, I pray to Almighty Allah that our land, our beloved country and democracy be protected from dangers and challenges that we are facing. May democratic forces always rise and shine in this country. May Almighty Allah bestow us with courage and capability to serve the people of our motherland, Sindh, on the vision and principles set forth by our founding father, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Qaid-e-Awam Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and Qaid-e-Jamhuriyat Shaheed Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto. Sir, with the leadership that we have in this country, with the young leadership, I'm sure the next several decades look very bright. वो जो थी हमारी जो हमारी इसमें उर्दू में लिखे होंगे मेरे शेर वगैरह देखेंगे तो मैं जो हमने मुश्किलात आई हैं, मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि हम अपनी के अंदर चेयरमैन बिलावल भुट्टो जरदारी साहब, प्रेसिडेंट आसिफ अली जरदारी साहब में इस सूबे को और इस मुल्क को बेहतर फ्यूचर की तरफ ले जाएंगे, और बहुत बेहतर अगले नेक्स्ट फ्यू डेकेड्स हम में से पता नहीं कितने इधर होंगे, लेकिन मैं अपने नेक्स्ट जनरेशन के लिए एक बहुत अच्छा पाकिस्तान देख रहा हूँ, इसलिए कि हमारे पास वो लीडरशिप है 40 साल तक इस मुल्क को लीड करेगी, और इंशाअल्लाह ताला हमें कामयाब करेगी। मैं वाइंडिंग अप स्पीच भी होगी मुझे, और मैं बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ सारे जो मेरे अपोजिशन के दोस्त हैं, उन्होंने तहम्मुल से सुना। आज बड़ा मजा आया, आपको भी मजा आया कि एक स्पीच चल रही है और सब बैठ के सुन रहे हैं। जो एक माहौल पैदा हो गया था इस सूबाई असेंबली में, अल्लाह ताला का लाख एहसान है कि वो खत्म हो गया, सुना है। और मैं ट्रेजरी साइड और अपोजिशन दोनों का बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि आप लोगों ने बड़े तहम्मुल से सुना। मैं आपसे ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, मैंने पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर को कहा था कि आज ही बात करें, हमारी 2 दिन की बजट के कैलेंडर में होता है, ट्यूसडे को हमारा सेशन होगा। मैं चाहूंगा कि पूरी पार्टिसिपेशन हो, ये आप अपनी तकारीर करें, क्रिटिसाइज करें। हम कभी क्रिटिसिज्म से नहीं घबराते, हम उससे कुछ सीखते ही हैं हमेशा। क्रिटिसाइज करें, जो गलतियां की है वो हमें बताएं, जो बेहतरी हो सकती है बताएं। अच्छी तजावीज आएंगी तो इंशाल्लाह ताला 2023-24 में पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी कंटिन्यू करेगी अच्छी तजावीज को, और इन ईयर्स टू कम। तो ये मौका हाथ से ना गंवाएं, अच्छी तजावीज दें, और इंशाल्लाह ताला जैसे मैंने कहा कि हम उन तजावीज पे अमल करेंगे। मैं जैसे मैंने शुक्रगुजार हूँ स्पीकर साहब आपका, आपके पूरे स्टाफ का। शफी नहीं है इधर, वो रिटायर कर गया है इसलिए नहीं आ गए इधर, लेकिन आपका पूरा असेंबली का स्टाफ हमेशा कोऑपरेटिव रहा है। और इंशाल्लाह ताला जो अगले 8-10 दिन हमारे बजट के होंगे, उन सब में भी हम सब साथ मिलके, मैं तो कहूँगा सुबह 10 बजे से शुरू करें, रात को 10 बजे तक तकारीर करें, सब अपनी अच्छी तरह, जैसे आपने मुझे स्पीच करने का मौका दिया है, 2-2 घंटे आप सब स्पीच करें। लेकिन उसके लिए ज़रूरी ये है कि जैसे आज डिसिप्लिन और डेकोरम का मुजाहरा हुआ है, वैसा होता रहे। अच्छा, मैं ये भी अपने साइड के लोगों को भी कहता हूँ, क्रिटिसिज्म होगा, उसको बुरा नहीं बनाए, करें क्रिटिसाइज, और इसमें कोई बुरी बात नहीं। हाँ, अनपार्लियामेंट्री ना हो, नहीं तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाते हैं। उसकी तरफ जरा आप लोग देखिएगा। अच्छा, मैंने जैसे कहा कि मैंने शुरू किया था सरदार शाह के एक शेर से, खत्म कर तो चाहे शाह लतीफ के, सरदार शाह माफ़ी शाह लतीफ जे हिकिड़े कहते सा मुंहिंजी सिंधी उर्दू तमाम एॾी शेर शायरी के मामले ताईं वो तो कोन्हे, तमाम कमज़ोर है। कोशिश कई थम, उहा कोशिश इन करे कई थम जीअं मूं तव्हांखे ॿुधायो, आऊं ॾिसां पियो तमाम असांजो जेको मुस्तक़बिल है तमाम ताबनाक है। मूं जीअं तव्हांखे ॿुधायो, सिंध में इस्तेकाम है, irrespective of that 5, 10 days, 15 days, it's been almost 5 years we've been here. इंशाल्लाह ताला ये इस्तेकाम जो सूबा सिंध में है, हम पूरे पाकिस्तान में लाएंगे, पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी में। और ना सिर्फ अभी होगा, ये मैं आपको कह रहा हूं कि आपकी हमारे पास लीडरशिप वो मौजूद है। फॉरेन पॉलिसी में पिछले 1 साल में क्या नहीं हो गया, आप देखें तो सही कि पाकिस्तान जिसको लोग पहचानते नहीं थे, वो जो इधर से बैठ के ढोल बजाते थे और कुछ नहीं करते थे, आपने हर एक के साथ अपने ताल्लुकात खराब किए थे। अभी मैंने सुना है, जहाँ का जब मैं आ रहा था तो टेलीविजन पे आया, अभी चेयरमैन बिलावल भुट्टो जरदारी साहब इराक गए थे, और इराक ने कह दिया है कि वीजा फ्री एंट्री है पाकिस्तानियों के लिए। ये आप ये ट्रेलर नहीं देख रहे हैं, ये जो 1 साल का ट्रेलर अभी दिया है, ये इंशाल्लाह ताला अगले 30 से 40 साल इस मुल्क को लीड करके आपको दिखाएगा। और हम में से कुछ लोग उनके साथ होंगे, कुछ उनकी साथ देते हुए जरूर रह जाएंगे, लेकिन